Thank you, Kaustubh, and good afternoon, good morning to all of you, and for that generous introduction, Kaustubh. All of us know that cement industry. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
Yes, you're audible.
yeah. So all of us know that cement industry contributes 7% to the global CO2 pool, and India being the second largest producer of cement worldwide, it has the responsibility to play a significant role. Although, as a country, we still believe that the approach has to be common but differentiated. But at the same time, we recognize that we have to play a significant role. And the good part is that India has responded to the various global calls very positively. And as Mr. Singhi mentioned in his opening address, that India is the only G20 country whose NDCs are on track. As far as the Indian cement industry is concerned, we have taken lots of initiatives to make the concrete sustainable and sustainable building material of choice, especially in the area of energy, water, alternate fuel. Most of the cement plants in India are very energy efficient plants. You must have heard that Ultratech recently crossed their targets for the energy productivity. Most of the plants in India are water positive, and in terms of absolute consumption of alternate fuel and raw material, Indian cement industry are much better as compared to many of their counterparts in the other industry. So to understand more on the low carbon roadmap, which Indian cemetery industry has taken, as Kaustubh introduced, we have three CEOs with us. And while we heard Mr. Dalmia, but I would still like to go to you, Mr. Dalmia, as a chair of the GCCA India. So my first question to you is, in a first of its kind core sector initiative, you last year announced that you will be carbon negative by 2050, 2040. And also, as Magali mentioned in her address, that one of her competitor, but we know that who that competitor is, and you had signed an agreement for the carbon capture also. Uh, can you throw some light on how are you going to achieve this carbon negativity by 2040, and also what's your plan on carbon capture? So over to you, Mr. Singhi.
Thanks, Arvind, and thanks, Kaustubh. And happy evening to all the friends who are here, and happy evening to Jamshedji, and happy evening to Rajnishji. It's a great pleasure to share platform with them. And this low carbon economy or the Indian efforts, Indian cement sector's efforts in global cement sector and climate actions, these are all my pet subjects. I'm fully passionate, and it really evokes pride in me when I talk of not only Dalmia Cement, but when I talk of Indian cement sector. So it's a great pleasure when we get laurels and applause from global leaders also that what Indian cement sector is doing in comparison to various other sectors. First, just to confirm two things. One, we are not competitor to anyone. We are always in collaboration, and Magali can't refer Dalmia Cement as competitor, but they know that we seek support from Lafarge Holcim in many ways, as, and they are the big brother. So we do, learn much more from them. And secondly, you are right in saying that we have announced committed carbon negative roadmap in 2018 in October, when no country or no manufacturing company was thinking even of net zero. And now, in last 7 to 8 months, now countries and companies have started thinking about it, talking about it. And I still know that when in San Francisco in 2018, when I first time announced that yes, with certain levers of actions, Dalmia Cement would be carbon negative, people were laughing. And then I could understand what Mahatma Gandhi had said long back, that when you do something different, then people will laugh, people will fight, and then people will follow you. So I'm happy that in 2 years' time, Gandhiji's words are becoming again quite relevant. First, I would like to compliment all Indian cement industry people who are here because they have brought laurels. It's not one CEO, one company, or one leader, but all together. And it's not a story of few years only, but it's a story of maybe last 2 decades in which consciously people have made efforts. I would also say that people have not made efforts just for climate change. People have not made efforts only for energy efficiency, but the companies and people have made efforts to bring down cost, bring up profitability, and at the same time, bring down the carbon footprints also. And this also proves our philosophy, which is a larger purpose philosophy, that clean and green is profitable and sustainable. And Arvind and friends, you must be knowing that Dalmia Cement, since last maybe more than 8 years, have been taking a lot of effort, a lot of actions on account of which we became one of the lowest carbon footprint cement company globally. And on that account, we went on making efforts. And today we have 465 kg per ton of cement as carbon footprints, which is almost 55% of global average. And at the same time, we are also one of the most profitable Indian cement company. So, which also, proves that climate efforts can bring in profitability also. So now coming to your question, that what are those levers? And I think most of the people do know levers, but let me share that the major levers are first, use of 100% renewable energy. And I include the waste heat recovery power also as a one of the renewable energy. So our target is that by 2030, we would not be using any thermal power. We'll be just using renewable energy. So that would bring down carbon footprint in a big way. Second, we'll go on replacing fossil fuel. And by 2035, we would be using only alternate fuel, which in our own terms, we call green fuel. So green fuel will be the only fuel by 2035, and we'll be totally replacing fossil fuel. And here, one of the major initiative which we are taking is we'll be planting now energy plants. And those energy plants are, most importantly, are bamboos, which can be grown in wasteland and many other areas also. And surely, along with us, many industry players from cement, from power, from other sectors also would join us, because that action would not only just to replace fossil fuel, but that would also be to bring up rural economy, to create employment in rural areas, and to also use the wasteland, which can also help in sequestration also. So we are already in the process, and today we might be one of the major consumer of waste or green fuel, which is in the form of municipal waste, hazardous waste, liquid waste, any type of waste which we can use. And we all know that as a cement sector, we are the national scavenger. Whatever waste is there, which has some value in terms of either limestone, in terms of some iron, in terms of carbon, we go on consuming it. So that would be second major step. Third would be to bring in more and more energy efficiency as well also to bring up the share of blended cement. So today also we are the leading slag cement manufacturer. And again, our effort is that maybe in time to come, we should be only producing blended cement. Still, that roadmap has to be finalized, but that's in place. And fourthly would be how to capture the carbon and then use it as captured carbon as a raw material for some other industry. And other industry can be fertilizer industry, can be construction industry, in which carbon dioxide can be infused in the concrete to make it more, give it more strength. It can be used also for chemical industry. It can be also used for various type of petrochemical industry also. So the point which we are trying to now prove is that if we are able to capture carbon, then definitely we can take care of 55% of the CO2 emission which comes out of the process. We have already started working on it. Now Asian Development Bank is doing the feasibility study on this, and then definitely we will take it forward. And we are confident that even before 2040, we should be able to bring down our carbon footprints below zero, and that's why we say we are carbon negative. So friends, point is that anybody can do it. It is just one has to visualize the future. One has to visualize the future, and that's why our tagline is the future today. So we are making efforts in all directions, and I'm so happy that we do get support from various Indian industry players also, and global industry players also, because a good part of Indian industry is there is a great transparency in any area, every area. And that's why we are supporting each other. And that's why, like in 2013, the Indian cement sector was the first to come out with low carbon economy roadmap, which are again reviewed in 2018. And again, I think that will be reviewed in 2022 or 2023. So this all would make not only Dalmia Cement as the most efficient cement company in terms of carbon footprint, but many of the players who are here also and otherwise also who might be working on it. And lastly, I would say one, BBC had identified us as one of the climate defender. Out of 5, we were 1. Second, CDP, they had identified 10 best companies globally from cement sector. And in those 10 companies, 5 are from India. And out of 5, I think all 5 would be present in this bidding in one way or other. And good part was for us that yes, we were ranked number 1 in terms of how each one of us are ready for low carbon economy transition. So my request to this group would be, let us collaborate, let's work together, let's work with the government also. Somebody must have read it that on 27th or 29th November, government has created an Apex committee under the chairmanship of MOEF Secretary and Vice Chairmanship of Additional Secretary, where they would be now tracking actions of each and every ministry to fulfill NDCs and to comply with Paris Climate Agreement. So that would also pave a great way. And once we are also able to popularize in a big way, even in India also, that we are one of the most efficient in terms of climate actions also, I think it would also add to our image. Otherwise, Costa, Bodana, or many people are aware that in the global cement sector, you ask anyone, and they would say Indian cement sector is one of the most efficient in terms of energy efficiency, in terms of carbon footprint also. So friend, this is what we are trying to do. We are quite open for any discussions, and feel free to contact Mr. Pahuja, Mr. Badola, Mr. Sunil Mahajan, myself, anyone, because we are in the process of learning also and implementation also. Thanks. Thanks, Arvind.
Yes, I think we lost Arvind because of some low bandwidth issue. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
detail. You haven't lost me, right?
No. We have. Okay. I'm able to hear you clearly. We are also video is also good. He's maybe having some internet issue. My question till the time Arvind comes back. My question to Mr. Jamshed Cooper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm back. Sorry. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Singhi. That was a very elaborate, explanation of what Dalmia Cement is doing. My next question is to Mr. Jamshed Cooper. And Mr. Cooper, you have been a passionate CEO, another passionate CEO which I have seen, and you have played a very significant role in bringing GCCA to India, and you're one of the founder member. I would also like to understand from you what are the strategic lever Heidelberg India is going to use for their decarbonization roadmap, and also do you think that there is any support needed from the policy side or from the market, to accelerate the growth on low carbon economy?
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you for your kind words. Yes, there are strategic levers we are working on, quite a few of them.
See, basically the first thing is, almost clinker is one of the major areas which you need to reduce because it contributes to 84% of your CO2 produced in the cement industry. So clinker being the basic material, one has to look at, the first thing we need to look at is how to reduce the clinker content in our cement. So, we have got two companies, and between the two companies, we are close to a very significant amount of blended cements, and we are continuously increasing this blended cements as we go year after year. So we have a footprint and we have a tracker which is very clear. So every quarter we review it so that we can increase our blended cements. So that is one of the strategic levers we have. And then another lever which Mr. Singhi has also spoken about is the renewable power. So that is where, and as I said, he said also that he considers WHR as a renewable energy. Yes, I think it is a green power, and it just only is that the government has to give it the status. So this can be as a part of one area where the policy decisions need to be influenced. Coming to the WHR generation, our strategy is very clear that not a single gram of heat should get lost or spent out in the air because it leads to also adds to the global warming temperature. And also, if you can use this heat and maximize your WHRs for the cement industry, it is there. Again, it is one of the same thing. We talk about AFR. AFR is very important, so this is also one of the try to maximize or use of AFR. So these are some of the 3-4 areas which we work on. Coming to, you very rightly asked a question, which is what policy interventions are we requiring? Let me put it simple, a few of them. Back of envelope calculations I did a few days back also. See, today the BIS allows you to pump in, absorb almost 35% fly ash in your production. Let me tell you that in central India, we are 100% blended. We do not produce a single gram of OPC. Okay, in south we do it, but there is a market need. But we have registered in central India. Now, if my clinker quality is such that I can absorb a higher percentage of fly ash, but I cannot go beyond 35. So there is a policy decision. If the government allows it, and if I say that about 70% of the blended cements, out of it 7% is slag, and rest is 63% is PPC. The country itself can save about close to about 9 million. India as such, let me put it to begin with, India produces about 210 million tons of CO2 given at current capacity utilization. It's about 525. We talk about capacity operating at 65%. If you take a ballpark figure, so this is what it comes out to be on a CO2 footprint, about 200 and out of the 23 trillion tons of CO2 emitted across the globe. Coming to the second one, which we are talking about, performance enhancers. NCGBM has worked something on that, but today the government has to approve it that we have to add performance enhancers. Is allowed to be added into other cements also, blended cements also. That can bring down another 5% to 4% of CO2. 4 million tons of CO2 can be brought down. And one of the major areas, I would say, infrastructure, where government spends close to about 25% of the cement consumption. About only 10% of that goes under blended cements. Now, if the government was to make this to 17 million, 50% of PPC, I would say, then the country can alone by one initiative of the government can save up to close to about 19 million tons of CO2. So if I total it up, all these things, these are low hanging fruit in my view. These policy decisions, if they come in, you can easily control about 25 million tons, 30 million tons of CO2 emission out of the 200, which is a significant 15% reduction in your Indian footprint of CO2. You can achieve it. And this does not require too much of, I would say, brainy here about it, but just only a matter of desire and willingness to do that and make this change. Coming to, today WHR is not given the status of a renewable energy, but if it is given, it will help. And last but not the least, there are many people who are producing open access renewable power. I think the DISCOM should come out with, the government of India should come out with a policy that wherever there is a renewable energy, okay, there has to be some concessions granted in terms whether it is on open access player or it is anybody producing that. cross subsidy charges can be lower. I think these are some of the things. And another place where we can talk about is if the government really pushes, there is a lot of municipal waste which is available across the country. It's not a very, we are not a very known to be very clean about it. But if these MSW can be converted into RDF, and cement industry, I'm sure, is capable of jumping into the whole game and saying, okay, we are also ready to do a processing of the MSW. But as long as there is some benefits, because today the municipal corporations are spending a huge amount of money just only handling this municipal waste. I think hand it over to the cement companies or to the MSW people who can create, RDF, and this can be transported. There are some good examples in MP. You can see it in Indore. RDF is being manufactured, is being made. This can be put up in many other locations. There are many cities near to new plants where RDF can be easily deployed and consumed. And this would be a really green power. If Mr. Singhi says it by 2035, he's going to use 100% of AFR. I think it is a doable project. It is nothing, something which is very far off. I think it is a very, very doable project. So these are some of the initiatives which I think, because of paucity of time, I don't want to delve too much on this. But there are many initiatives which we can talk about. Globally, we are doing a lot. We are in the footprints of, we are stepping in the foots of our group, which has done a lot of work on that. Of course, our country is not pressing us so much hard on the CO2 footprint, but today also we say that today we are very closer to the benchmark what we have created. We have got a 2030 roadmap also. So we are doing it and monitoring it on a quarterly basis.
Mr. Cooper, I now move to Mr. Rajneesh Kapoor, and my question to you is, what Mr. Cooper mentioned, that use of MSW or RDF or alternative raw materials, and also Mr. Singhi earlier mentioned that cement industry is like a scavenger. We take it in a positive way, but would like to understand what at the JK Cement, what initiative you have taken on alternate fuels or alternate raw material, and also what at the India level also do you think we should be doing, or any policy support or something required for that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's a great privilege to talk to all of you today and share our experience in terms of how AFR and ARM have been used in our company. Firstly, I would say that as a company, we have taken up the challenge of reducing our carbon footprint in line with the various goals and targets that have been set. And all the levers which Mr. Singhi just mentioned in terms of improving energy efficiency, alternate fuels, clinker factor, and improving the contribution of RE in terms of the total energy that we use. All those things we are working on. But specifically to the question that you asked, I think in AFR, we made, I'm very happy to say that we made a very small step and a small beginning in the, I think somewhere in the year 2014-15, where we just started our, experimentation or the foray into the utilization of AFR into our system. And I think we have done fairly well over the last few years and made significant progress in terms of utilization of AFR. But more than that, I think a significant progress in terms of understanding the challenges and the nuances that you need to really focus upon to make your utilization of alternate fuels to be, coming to the par and really increasing. And I think if you look at the TSR, which is a measure of how much of alternate fuel you are using, in our country, while Indian cement industry has much to feel proud of in terms of being industry leaders in all other parameters, TSR is one area where I think we have a long way to catch up with the industry leaders. When we look around the world, and when we see that some of the best countries in the use of alternate fuels are today operating at somewhere between 60 to 70% of TSR as a country. And most of the countries who are in developed areas and who have been working on this for some time are at least above 20%. While in India, we started at just about 0.6% in 2010 and were able to reach to close to 2.7% in 2018. And we had some hiccups in between where we went up and came down. I think those are the challenges which we as a country need to understand. And in our company, I would say I'm very, we were able to get an average TSR in one of the plants to over 10% on an yearly average. And as a group, as a company, we were able to get 6% TSR last year. And this year, one of my plants is operating at above 15% TSR. So, and with the goals and targets set, we are making small incremental steps. Our strategy has been to make incremental improvements in utilization of AFR. And now over the years, we have invested significant amount of, CapEx, not only CapEx, also time and resources and understanding, for creating facilities, for receiving, for storage, for processing, for feeding, for both liquid and solid, wastes, and which include all kinds of waste that you can, get. And I think we are now in the next phase of ramping up our facilities and moving to the next phase of adding more capability building things, because what we felt was that keep making incremental steps. For example, keep working on till a situation where the chlorine comes to a limit that you need a chlorine bypass. And then, look for that and learn in the process, because I personally feel that there is a lot of steps that need to be encountered, and some of the challenges which we faced in this journey and which are extremely important to, understand for ramping up the AFR utilization was that, very soon we realized that, you don't have a single quantified kind of an AFR which you're going to use. Your variety can vary from rice husk to tires to municipal waste, which of course is going to be the major quantum, as Jamshed was just mentioning. And then commercial, industrial waste, carbon black, sewage sludge, spent pot liner, the list is endless. And each of these materials have a different chemical composition, have a different kind of, facilities which need to be handled, different way of handling, different calorific value. And therefore, it puts a challenge on, all of us. And therefore, it becomes extremely difficult to, operate them. It needs high capex in terms of plant and machinery and plant mastery for utilization of AFR. Things like, problem of oxygen requirement, clinker quality, emissions control, chlorine and sulfur cycles, coatings and rings which can get formed, and temperature profile, and the list is endless. Burner design, refractories, impact on refractories, all those things need a totally different kind of an understanding of the entire system. And on that, I feel that the regulatory framework comes in and helps us. It can be really very good. Like Jamshed was just mentioning, municipal solid waste, we have actually a gold mine lying in the municipal solid waste, which we can all as a cement industry utilize much well. But the challenge is that it needs a very combined kind of an effort from everybody, right from the people who are generating waste, which each one of us as an individual are in any case generating waste in our households. So do we segregate that waste? Do we collect that waste? How do we process that waste? And how does it finally reach the industry? And one point which often comes and gets debated is that ultimately it must make some sort of an financial sense. So there has to be the policy of, polluter to, pay, or everybody who is, getting involved in this cycle, taking his share. Cement industry can take a great lead in terms of utilizing anything which needs to be burned, we can burn. And as, was just being mentioned by the two panelists before, our objective is that no energy which we are having should go waste, including the waste heat and other things. So I think extremely important. And last but not the least, there are two other important points which we realized. The people skill part here needs totally different. So, the people skills required are not just simple cement plant running. The mindset needs to be different, because you are going to always have your clinker cycle getting challenged and getting impacted by different AFR. So you need to be resilient. You need to put on some sort of AFR labs where you're getting real-time mapping of the composition of the material that you're using, making real-time correction in terms of various, process parameters which you need to do. So it needs a lot of training. And last but not the least, health and safety. It is extremely important in terms of building up proper health and safety protocols, ensuring that, your people who are working in it are safe, ensuring that there can be a huge risk of fire. There could be a huge risk of, groundwater seepage kind of a thing where you can contaminate the groundwater by leaching and other things. So it has been, for us, it has been a journey which has been fairly satisfying over the last 3-4 years. We are sitting now at 17 to 18%. So therefore, we are now looking at in one of our plants to move to the next cycle in terms of adding a chlorine bypass or a hot disc and things like that. And my suggestion to all my colleagues, and some of them are in much more advanced from whom we are learning, is that, it's a case of mindset. right from the top of the organization to the bottom ground engineer who's working on ground. And we need to, I think technologies are all known to us. We need to be ready to use it. And we, of course, need the support of the enabling environment in terms of government bodies and the regulators.